I haven't run into a house yet that has square walls.
Love working on these old homes. These are my bread and butter.
I gotta say, this floor is awfully comfortable.
Wow. Wow, that's actually a rain cloud.
We had all this space?
The whole ground is heaving. Perfect every time. Welcome to beautiful Orleans, Ontario. This is a little suburb in the capital, Ottawa. Beautiful day. On a day like today, it's about 32 degrees. All you want to do is jump in the pool, and the client has invited us in. But before we do that, we got a lot of work to do. Well, here we are, the cedar hedge. There once was a time when this was a real, showpiece to say, hey, I've got a gorgeous hedge. We take time, manicure it, and trim it. But nowadays, lives are too busy, and people are looking for a space in their backyard where they can enjoy it without all the maintenance, without all the mosquitoes that come along with it. So what we're going to do is remove the hedge, remove the fence, and we're going to make a new three-dimensional fence horizontally that both of the neighbors can enjoy, have lots of privacy with some built-in planters and really cool features. That'll give us the ability to widen up the space between the pool and the fence and make it a little wider area here so they can have a little gardening as well, and just a whole lot nicer look and a lot cleaner too. So we sat down with the client and started to discuss their needs and desires for the backyard. And one of the things that they have is a great addition. It's like a large three-season sunroom on the back of the house, but they don't have an outdoor sitting space. So they wanted to build a deck extension, a barbecue area, and then a lower platform. You can see they don't have a place where they can really enjoy next to the pool. So we have to incorporate those three factors. As well, we have specific needs. There's a wheelchair accessibility issue here. So the City of Ottawa wants a second exit. So we're going to build a ramp off the back side of the deck that wraps around and comes down to join the lower section. We're going to finish it off with some railings and some aluminum spindles, and it's going to look really good. It'll give them all the space they need with an outdoor eating area. They got a large family. They love to get together outside. So they got a table that seats 12. So we got to make enough seating area for everybody. This is going to be a lot of work. We better get right to it. Well, today we're going back to the Middle Ages. We've constructed ourselves a little siege tool. We're going to remove a cedar hedge. So 2 steps to this. Basically, we're going to take a reciprocator saw. We're going to cut down the hedge, leave about a foot or so of the stump. And then we're going to use this beast that we constructed here. In this environment, though, there's a safety issue. We do have a chain link fence right next to the cedar hedge. So the thought of using a chainsaw in this application was a little bit, how shall we say, I'm going to lose maybe an hour of progression in the day, but I don't run the risk of having that saw catch the fence and cause an injury. And I like my arms where they are. Besides, not everybody has a chainsaw or is comfortable using one. So the purpose of the video, these are basic tools that almost everybody has at home who does any kind of construction work. So you don't need to go out and start buying new tools for every project. If we can teach you how to use what you have already. So let me introduce you to Holden's Beast, or my crazy version of it that I made this morning. Cedar post here. So we're gonna go 2 runs around. That's actually lifting the whole ground. Look at that. The whole ground is heaving as Nate puts his weight on it. So this is having the desired effect. I think we got that one. Yeah. Okay. Today we're going to be setting our fence posts. We definitely get winter here. Usually our ground is frozen solid for at least 3 to 4 months a year. And our frost line runs between 3 and 4 feet. So if we were to apply any of the traditional ways of putting in a post that are found on the internet, we'd end up having our fence falling over or being lifted right up out of the ground. And so we can't follow that normal way of doing things. So today we're going to set the post for a 4-season climate. What we're going to do is we're going to go 4 feet down. We're going to put concrete in the bottom of our hole. We're going to backfill with dirt. There's some clay, so we're going to go down and then up. Okay, now we got power. Ready? Yeah. Okay, well, that right there is clay. Get a good feel for it. It's almost like Play-Doh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right now it's still wet. But when it freezes, all the moisture that it holds expands. And this is why it's so dangerous here. If you fill this concrete right to the top of this hole, when all that extends, there's an incredible amount of force pushing up. Okay, push it in. Up. Down. Up. 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 All right. So the good news is we haven't run into any rocks. So it's a nice clean hole. The bad news is we ran full speed for about 3 seconds and we filled this thing up with all that Play-Doh. We had to stop filming because we needed to get our cameraman to give us a hand yanking this out. Okay, lift up. Go. Up. Down. Up. That hole's done.
Sweating so much.
Oh. Okay, we've only got about another 10 more to go. It'll be clay until we hit lava. This sucker is solid clay. Up here in the northern climate, where we get a nice hot summer and a really brutally cold winter, we're used to the idea that when we build something outside, it's a temporary structure, and it's only gonna last 20 years if it's done really well. So we just accept the fact that we are putting in fences every 20 years. Maybe if you're watching this video and you're down in Florida or Georgia, you know you put it in a fence like this, it's gonna last longer than your house. I don't know. Okay, once you get on the other side of there, when I'm using a level, I like to use my level as long as humanly possible. So I set the base in the hole, and I'm basically moving this post until it's level. And if I touch the line before I make it level, I know I'm on an angle, so I have to adjust my base position until I can move my post and be level just as I touch the string. And if I set that as my level at the ground level, all the way across, then when I'm installing on my fence posts, I can have a string at the top and the bottom between my 2 points, and then the rest of these posts go in real easy. Right there. Now that we've dug a hole, we've got water.
Yep.
Right? One of the best advantages of living in a region like this is you can do shallow wells for your water supply for your house because the clay holds so much water. You dig a hole anywhere at all, you got water. Here's the valve of the bag. If you just put your hands in there and just rip it back with all your strength. Oh, I'm glad that worked. That'd be rather embarrassing on camera. All right, we are good to go. And if you need to step over here a little bit, that's fine too. Now, how much water does a bag of that cement get in the hole? Nate?
I have no idea.
We told you to read the instructions. What did it say?
I just read the top part.
Okay, can you take a look at the bag, please?
Yeah.
Typical man. You gotta read the instructions before you start, front to end. Understand what they're trying to communicate. There's an actual chemical reaction happening here, and it's releasing oxygen. You can see it bubbling in the hole, perfectly level. Leave it alone. You don't even need to brace this. This is how brilliant the cement is. It starts setting so fast, you don't even need to brace it. If you want to brace it, you could, but you might just upset the things as they're settling. So today we're building a 3D, which is three-dimensional, horizontal fence. Well, the reason I call it three-dimensional is one, it sounds sexy, but two, it's because we're going to be using traditionally a 5/4 inch by 6 inch lumber going horizontal across the fence. Around eye level, we're going to use a 2x6 just to have a little bit of texture and some pop. So this is the camo screwing system. It's designed for 5/4 inch board by 6 inch. You pull this up, it spreads the tongs, you let go, and now it's attached to the board. Nice and simple. The new system is designed for speed. The old one wasn't. You could only put a screw on each side. Now you can put a screw on both sides, and you can just drive the screw right into the board. There's my sweet spot. Of course, my screw is all set and ready to go. Now, that gets buried on a 45-degree angle. You can see how the head is completely buried. So it looks like a lot of work getting it set up, but once it's set up, it goes in pretty quick. So basically, in order to finish this fence, all we have to do is exactly the same thing we've just done 50 or 60 times, and we should be good. So today we're gonna have a lot of fun. It's deck day. We get to begin the project by ripping off the stairs. Secondly, we have to prep our surface. Because we got permission to use deck block and we don't have to dig down, we'll get into that in a little bit later, but it's gonna be pretty simple. So we're building a floating deck with a basic 2-tier section with a wheelchair access ramp. There's a few different elements involved in that, so what we're gonna have is a lot of blocks, a lot of posts, a lot of structure. We're gonna start off with the main section of the deck here. It's a 12 by 24. We're gonna do a box beam, so we'll show you how to do that. Then we're gonna lay all of our stringers on top of that. That'll allow us to have the deck boards coming straight off the house. Nice and easy installation, big space, get a few hundred square feet out of that one. And then we'll have the ramp come back and forth across there, down the backside, onto another platform next to the pool. That'll just be one step up off the walk around. That'll give them a place to sun and tan and be out of the dirt, which is really nice. First thing we're gonna do before we put our landscape cloth down is we're gonna just kind of mark out the perimeter of our deck. We've got our plan. We just figured out our slope for our ramp, which in our area is 1 inch for every 10 inches. Basically equates to 10 inches of ramp for every inch of drop. So we've just worked our math backwards and we know how many feet of ramp we need. So we don't need landscape cloth underneath the surface of the deck. We're about 46, 48 inches off the ground. We don't expect any wild weeds to germinate and come right through the floor. But the other areas of the deck are gonna get a little closer to the ground. So we're gonna put the cloth down just to make sure that we don't get any like hogweed or something like that getting root and coming up through the floor. It's easier to maintain, and when we're all done with the skirt, we won't have a lot of weeds growing up against the deck. We can maintain a little bit of gravel or something like that. Keep things real simple for maintenance. Limestone screening is just a leveling process. We're gonna put about a half a bag down for each one of these blocks. We'll use a tamper and a little bit of water. Set our block on top of that. We'll put a block there as well. Because we're on clay, all I need is to try to create a level environment. When you're on clay, really what we're doing is creating a point load down to the clay ground. If we were to dig this out and fill the hole with gravel and then put our block on it, you would find that that hole would just be full of water all the time, every time it rained. It would actually be counterproductive because it might encourage rot if our post got down into that ground. So essentially what you're looking at here is a box beam. We've just got it laid out. We still have to lift it up into position. Now, it's a great job to do as a two-man operation. If you had to do it alone, you could. So because we're building our deck with wheelchair accessibility, the idea is to bring our deck surface as close to the sill plate as we can. So the only thing we don't have control of right now is the lateral movement.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to get as close as we possibly can. Once all three of them are done, we can put a stretch of board across. We can make any fine-tune adjustments at that point. Then we're going to drill our holes with our 1/2-inch galvanized bolt, nuts, washers, tighten those bad boys on. We got structure. So I'm using this other piece of structural lumber to level this all off. Okay, carry the weight of that for a second.
Okay.
Not really feeling it? Stay still. Remember, you don't want to wreck my level.
It's so heavy.
We're liking that. Up a little bit. A little bit more. Okay.
Oh my God.
That's good. With one hand, hold this thing from falling over. With the other hand, you hold the beam. It's only 20 pounds, you'll be fine.
Okay.
All right. All right. All right, so there's our box beam. So tacking a couple of screws, cross brace this bad boy. You got it?
Yeah.
All right, bud. Okay, so right now we basically got our box beams installed. This is for the upper level of the deck. The deck is going to come off the door, follow an angle, kind of facing the pool. There'll be a barbecue area. and then it's going to change direction. The stairs will come off over here. So what we have is basically 3 big beams. That carries and transports all of our load. Once we've drilled our galvanized bolts, we're going to do 2 for each beam. That'll transfer approximately 6,000 pounds to the ground on each one of these beams. If they have a party that exceeds that, I want to be there. So we're not worried about it, structural speaking. Structural lumber all delivered to site now. We're ready to roll. So we finished drilling a bunch of these 1/2-inch galvanized bolts in. So this might seem like it takes a little bit of extra time. Might be arduous, but it's a $30 drill bit, which is exactly the same size as our galvanized bolts. And if you go too fast, it'll shear right in half from overheating. That's why it's necessary to take it in and out and clean the wood out of that bit as you go. Okay.
It looks so majestic.
It's my job to make it look easy. The last step for this is really we want to tighten these nuts. We want to create as much compression as we can so that things aren't moving around. Now we're dealing with a softwood lumber here. So although that feels pretty tight, we're going to go for compressed. Takes a little bit of work. Whew. All right, so once you have everything tight and you're ready to start laying your floor joist package, with a triple box beam like this, we're using the middle beam as kind of our midpoint. So we're going to be attaching our joists every 16 inches on center. The secret here is that we're going to offset the joists so that I can attach them to this ridge plate from each side and have one of these running down the middle. Now all of these joists will be sitting on one of these 2x10s, so that'll transfer the load, which will work out really, really well. Little note, when you're working with 2x6, it's 1 fastener for every 2 inches of lumber in the number. So 6 divided by 2 is 3 fasteners. Make sure you do it, or when your inspector comes by, he won't pass you. So for this particular project, we're using the Sienna Brown pressure treated. They still have the green on the market in certain suppliers, but this one looks a lot more like cedar. It starts off brown within a week or 2 of fading in the sun. You'll never know the difference. So now what we're doing, we're just getting all of our joists run. Once we have our joist run and the other rim joists on, we're going to square it off to the building. Once that's squared off, and then we can start measuring out to where our ramp locations are and cut this lumber to size according to our schematic for building a ramp off of a platform over in that corner. Okay, so now that we've got our basic structure in place, we've got this side all screwed down, we got the corners pinned. We're not too concerned about what's going on over there because that's all going to get custom cut. We're going to change the angle. So we're just leaving it in place, resting on the beams for now. We're going to have a little talk with the client. We'll map out the final design in a minute. What we have to do is get this all squared off before we can measure off the rest of the deck. Because the whole deck is built off the idea that we're coming square off the wall, right down the middle, on this box beam. So we mark off our 6 foot, we marked off our 8 foot. Now Nate, the leading edge with the numbers, that corner goes on the outside part of that board. Kind of go like that way. Nate, go like sideways.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Now look at this. I am way out of square. All right? You can see I'm about 1 inch shy of square. So what I do is I grab this board and I'm going to pull it all towards me until my pencil mark and this 10 line up somewhere around here. So we'll try that. Set it up again.
Yep.
Oh, only a 1/2 inch. One more good shot. Try that.
Okay.
Bam. There we go. Now this won't slide around out of position. This is guaranteed to be squared off the house. This is guaranteed to be straight off the house. So now the rest of our dimensions can be measured off this rim joist. Okay?
95 and like legit. 116.
All right. Wow, that's actually a rain cloud. So last time we were visiting, we were working on the platform of the upper section of the deck. So now this section is basically finished. We have a design element we're going to walk through with the client with once we get the rest of the structure done. They're just going to put a little angle on it to kind of mimic the pool. It'll be nice, look for a barbecue area. But basically what we've done is today we worked on the wheelchair accessibility ramp. So they have the platform there. That's what all these posts are in the background. We haven't lopped them off and finished that yet, but before we can finish our deck and our ramp, we really need to get this platform here finished. So right now we're laying out our landscape cloth. We've got a simple design. We're just using building materials right off the shelf, 10-foot lumber, 24 feet long, just a great big rectangle. We're gonna put a little bit of structural support underneath. So when it's done, top and bottom, a nice load transfer, get rid of the bounce. And then we'll be able to line up for where our stairs and where our ramp ends. And that should be just about it. And then we got to call for inspection. Here's the interesting thing. The city didn't want us to drill into the ground, because if we went into the ground to put our piers, we had to have these 24 by 24 footings 5 feet deep. It seemed excessive to dig out the entire backyard and then put all the dirt back again. So they said, well, because it's a wheelchair ramp, we'll let you do a floating deck. So when we weighed out the options, we had about a $40,000 excavation or floating deck. The clients agreed that the floating deck seemed a little bit more practical. So we're not sure why it was one extreme or the other. We kind of went from one ditch of crazy cost to the other ditch of we'd all feel better having this in the ground, but because we're on clay, at the end of the day, we're not attaching to the house. So as long as it's a freestanding structure, being on the surface is okay with me if it's okay with the city. As my son alluded to earlier, basically what we're doing is we're making a giant wall, except we're not going to lift it up into a wall. We're going to just leave it on the ground. The trick here is, that's good actually, the trick here is to just level it all off. So because we're working straight off of the deck, it's settled a little bit. We did some shimming. We have the rim joist there all taken care of. So here we're going to have to use a deck block because we have some nice slope on the ground. We're going to use a 2x8 on this side because that'll actually transfer the load a lot better over a larger gap. I think that'll work pretty good there, Nate. Let's give it a shot. A little bit of trial and error here. We need to get the deck block in place. Yeah, let's see what we got. So that's perfect. And up here. That says I'm level. We're doing a ground level structure here. So now we've got an issue because the ground isn't flat. We can't just lay it on the ground. So over here at this point, instead of adding 3 or 4 bags of limestone screenings, we're going to just use the post in the block. Attach a couple screws. Now we've got a level structure. Now in order to finish this off, it's going to be very much like the deck and the box beam structure. We'll drill a 1/2 inch hole. We've got some galvanized bolt and nut and washer assembly, and that'll transfer all the load that this is carrying into this post, through the block, through this, onto the clay, and now we're structurally solid.
Right now I'm just putting a bolt into this 4x4, 2x8. So I just tighten this by hand, and then I grab a wrench. And then I just make sure that I take this washer and kind of seep it into this wood to make sure that it's not going anywhere.
So when you're doing your structure and we're leveling things off, we're throwing a quick screw in. The screw is just there to set the wood until such time that you drill the hole and put in galvanized bolt. So right now, I'm just putting these joists in position, setting it with a screw. We're going to actually attach the joist hangers after we're done setting all this up. There we go.
Right now, I'm just putting these, what are these called again?
Joist hangers.
These joist hangers.
I love it.
I'm putting these joist hangers just on the top of the wood, so when I go by and I screw them in, it's really easy.
Okay, tough guy. Now you've learned the hard way.
Maybe this will make up for my mistakes last time on camera.
But you can see by the speed that he's putting this in, just about anybody could install it. And it doesn't matter how good you are with a hammer. It was definitely not a shout out. You missed your opportunity. That is coming on, that boat has sailed, man. The reason we're going with this lumber is A, it's economical. B, we're using our camo screw system. And so we're going to be coming in from the sides. We're every 16 inches on center. This is more than strong enough. We're not going to have any issues with it feeling too lightweight or too much movement. We've added some structural support underneath the deck to keep the floor joists from moving around and transfer some load so it'll feel really stable. Remember, this is going in on an angle. And you drive that drill bit right into the cradle. And that sets the perfect depth every time. Compared to other systems that have no screws on the surface, it's incredibly fast.
You're like, go get the camera screws. I'm like, I can't find them.
They're camouflage.
Because they're camouflage. It's easy.
Yeah?
Especially for a guy who's my age. And I've only been doing this for like a year.
You're like a junior carpenter.
Junior the third.
So now we have the surface of our deck covered. We have to prep for our picture frame. We're in good shape there, eh?
Does that seem legit?
I like it. You can see that fence that we were working on in the background. We're almost on the neighbor's side. And now on his side, it's almost 10 feet tall because we had to build a retaining wall and we're filling in with gravel so we can extend the patio stone.
Do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
As long as there's lead in this here pencil, we'll keep going.
Sounded so southern. This here
Sweet.
pencil. I'm going to be cutting the wood. So we've got the compact miter saw or whatever.
Compound miter saw, yeah.
Whatever it is, compound.
First, I want you to put that to 45.5 degrees.
45
and a half. The bottom is going to want to lock at
45.5 degrees.
Yep, lock it in. Okay. Now cut that bad boy and let's confirm the angle. How's that look to you?
I'd say 45.
Now cut just a hair to the right of that first cut line, okay?
Okay, sensei.
Go. How's that one look?
That looks a lot better.
Okay. You can see when we're doing this kind of work, you can expect that you're going to need an opportunity to make a second or third try. So this is why we're working with wood that hasn't been cut to the right length yet. And when we're working with our angles, we're on the other side of a pencil. We want to make sure we get the angle just perfect before we cut the wood and get rid of all of our options that are available. And we're going to use traditional screws for this. We're going to get it started. I'm going to run on reverse, what I like to call cauterizing the wound. So when I'm screwing down my picture frame, I'm still using this kind of screw. The camo screw is marvelous. Going right into, I'm going to just go on a bit of an angle, right into my rim joist underneath, then go flush, plus a quarter. Now when this wood swells up, a couple of rainstorms later, that hole will just be grown over, you'll never see it again. Well, that concludes our picture frame technique for the deck. Really happy with how it's going so far. I mean, it's been a long, hot day today, 30 plus degrees. And we've got about 170, 180 square feet of flooring down here. That's good. I think overall it's starting to come together just like I envisioned it. It's come a long way from just a scratch note on the pad for our permit to come into life. 2 or 3 more days we should have all of the deck surface down and then working on the railings. So we're looking forward to getting the glass up and looking forward to the client coming home and see what their opinion is too. So now we've got our decking going on one of the platforms. We've started some of the decking on our ramp. So right now we'll start with just hanging a skirt board. Start her up and off you go. All right, so these handrails require a banister, one of these little spindle things. Our code in our region, we can't have a gap more than 3 inches, so we have to use, you know, a few hundred of these bloody things. All right. Again, we want to burn that screw before we drive it so it doesn't split. We double-checked our paperwork from our city. They gave us design specifications for what's an acceptable installation. And where we are, they want 2 screws in the bottom rail, 1 on the top. Don't ask me why, but that's what we're gonna give them. So now we're gonna deal with the stairs. This is my framing square. Now I'm not a framing expert, but I have used these little things before, and these are just great little dials. They attach to the square, okay? They just screw on, and you can adjust them. Now, I'm going to use 5 stringers. I like my stairs to be really extra solid. I don't like weak steps. There's nothing worse than when you're going up a flight of stairs and you feel like you might fall through. So we're gonna go a little overkill. Our stairs are 6 feet wide. I'm going with 5 stringers. That should be plenty. We're gonna use solid 1.25" deck board on them. So when it's all screwed together, we'll have a little bit of back support and then we'll drop it into place. Take those out. All right, so now we've got all of our stair stringers tacked into place. The outside is screwed together. You're gonna see what we did is we've continued on with our skirt look and behind where the stairs are gonna go. This is gonna be important because we're doing picture frame deck, similar to the other level. This here is gonna come out about 1.25" will be a nosing. So this acts like its own riser. I think it's just going to give it a really nice clean look when we bring it all around. Okay, so once you have it all assembled, you just lift it into place. I'm going to need my drill right here. Now. Now I've got this corner tacked in. Just checking my level, and I want to be off just a little bit here. Stairs that are level are nice, but stairs that have a 1 degree incline towards the stair is really sweet. If there's ever any movement with this deck, it gives me a little bit of mercy. You never want to go down a set of stairs that are throwing you forward. So having them leaning in a little bit, it's never a problem. Here we go. Right, so once we have our stairs in place, it's just our basic frame. Okay, so we'd have a 2x6 riser across the front. It'd be screwed in from all different directions. That means it also has to be blocked from here across, okay? And then after we're done with that, we just cut our our floorboards, and I'm gonna go about an inch past the stringer on each side so that I can bring my skirt boards all up the sides, okay? I'll do a little back framing with some 2x4s, screw the skirt in top and bottom, close off that area for animals, and then that'll be the finish. With this one here, we'll end up drawing the size of this post. We'll cut it out with a hole saw and a jigsaw, and then we would just lift it up and slide it over our posts and slide it down, and that would be it. And we just stairs and risers all the way up, close it up, and then we're finished. So this was a massive project that had a lot of elements involved. We have the original design, we have design changes, we have the city of Ottawa had some structural changes. I had to bring in a designer to do some of the finishing touches, engineers to engineer our glass railing for us. So there's a lot involved, plus it's the hottest summer in our record in our area, so we were exhausted every day. So 5 weeks later, it's all completed. We're really happy. We have every element that we wanted. The clients are super happy. We've incorporated 3 new planter boxes. So one's over on the fence, just to give a little bit of that 3D detail that we were looking for. And we also have LED lights on that fence. So at night, it's absolutely beautiful. It's solar powered, LED lighting, great accent lights. We also added a couple of planter boxes at the far end. Those are going to be designed, it's a stand-up gardening center. So basically it's framed chicken wire landscape cloth. They can put vegetable garden or just regular flowers in there. It doesn't involve any bending over. And so it's just a great natural separation between the pump equipment for the pool and the sitting area. So this is our wheelchair access ramp so that we can have our client go from the upper area right down to poolside. It's a nice low slope. It's 1 inch for every 12 inches. It's engineered just wide enough to get them in and around. It's a little tricky because we do have a property line and we have bylaw zoning issues. We've got a 4-foot separation from fence to deck that we had to maintain. So it's a little bit tight, but he's able to navigate it quite comfortable. It would have been nice if we had a little more space, but when you have a permit to build something, the city gives you your list of rules and regulations and you gotta stay inside that parameter. So when we were first talking about the project, the idea was to have a handrail up and down the ramp, and the lower part of the deck isn't 2 feet off the ground, so there was no need for a railing. But as we got going and it started taking shape, I think visually the client started to get more excited about enhancing the process. So what they decided was time for some glass railing. So what we've done is we've covered everything in glass. We have it engineered so we don't have any of that aluminum capping. It's just all solid wood and glass. We're all good to go. Beautiful. So originally we just had a little set of stairs right off the back of the house. And this is actually an addition to the home. It's like a sun porch area. And the client had outdoor storage underneath. Well, with the addition of this deck, what we had to do is add a little bit of hidden storage. So now everybody has access to all their stuff underneath the deck instead of underneath the house. When designing an outdoor living space, you have to keep in mind a couple of major factors. A, what you're going to use the space for, and B, where are the traffic lines? So on this deck, we have a door to the stairs, and the barbecue area is set up beside it. Then we have a sitting area and a table area to the other side of it. We have to maintain traffic space for the wheelchair ramp. We also had to maintain the ability for when the chair came off the ramp and was on level ground, that it wasn't entering right into the bottom of the stairs. You don't want to have a situation where someone's coming in a chair and someone's coming down the stairs and you don't have the ability to stop because you're going to have an accident. So there's actually a code regarding this. So this is why we have this little adjustment here. This was not in the original plan. We had to add that in. Now we've got this beautiful sitting area over here as well behind us. And now because we got rid of that cedar hedge, now we've got a beautiful sitting area on the other side of the pool. So you can pick. Do you want to sit in the shade? Do you want to sit in the sun? Different time of day. You've got all the freedom in the world to choose wherever you're most happy. Overall, we are super excited about the product. I'm happy, the client's happy. Couldn't have done a better job if we'd had the rest of the summer to finish. So if you'd like to see our YouTube videos on this project, we broke it down into 7 steps for you, right from the beginning, the design, the layout, the framing, right through to the very finishing touches. So by all means, go and check that out. There should be enough information there that anybody who's comfortable with tools can do something like this on their own. Aside from the project video, we also have elements of the video, how to remove the cedar hedge. We have a video on how to drill into the clay soil in our area. Really tricky, but doable with the 2-man auger. We also have on our channel how-to videos for just about anything you can imagine. So by all means, take a look at our channel, subscribe to the channel, send us some feedback. Love to hear your comments, love to know what it is that you'd like to see. We're doing different projects all the time, so if there's something that's specific that you want to know about, send us a message. I'll be happy to put a video together. Well, thanks for joining us today, and if you'd like to see the projects that we're doing in the future, hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time we have a new video, or check out the link over here and you can check out some of our past projects. While you're making that decision, I gotta find a new color.